I eventually got into the news business, and I found a letter from my father that said that he thought that perhaps I could tell the story of how your parents, as he put it, came from China and how they escaped the Sino-Japanese War, which was going on and preceded the communist takeover of China. And he said, maybe you can carry on the name Chung, essentially saying maybe you can be the son that we never had. And I think I took that mission, since I believed in filial piety. I think I took that mission seriously. So when I went into the news business, I found that I was surrounded by men. And I have a photograph of that I'd love. Well, Morgan, wait 1 second. I'm sorry. Sorry, that was a false start. I discovered that I was among men because when I started in 1969, there were hardly any women, just a smattering of women, and it was actually thanks to the civil rights law that was passed in 1964 that women began to be hired, because the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission was formed because of the 1964 law. And my sister-in-law, her name is Lynn Povich, Maury's sister, was a Newsweek reporter at the time, a Newsweek researcher. Women at Newsweek were only hired as researchers. They could not advance to reporter or writer or editor, anything of the sort. So these women, including my sister-in-law, met in the ladies' room, the only only place they could get privacy to meet and come up with the idea of filing a class action lawsuit against Newsweek, demanding that they be moved into higher level jobs. They won. And all corporations across America were threatened with the women's movement and the black movement. That caused my eventual employer, Bill Small, at the Washington Bureau of CBS, to hire women. I was among that small wave of 4 women who were hired. But the way I got the job was I was working for a local station. I was doing a story on unsanitary conditions at restaurants in Washington, D.C. I barged into a restaurant just the way Mike Wallace would, like demanding to see the owner. He watched me as I, was so bold and brave, just this little 25-year-old woman, and he gave me his card and said, "Call me." And so I figured, well, let's see, he was just about finished lunch. He'll be back at the office shortly. I called him 20 minutes later, and I got the job. So there we were, having entered the news business in what I consider, and I saw at CBS News, which was the Tiffany network. It was the creme de la creme. It was the place to be, because Walter Cronkite was doing the news. Good evening, this is Walter Cronkite. And my parents and I, and my 4 older sisters, we all sat down to watch Uncle Walter, and he was the quintessential anchorman. And I wanted to be Walter Cronkite. I thought that was a dream that would never occur, but there I was working in the Washington Bureau with the best bureau in the country, and reporting news for Walter Cronkite. So there I was. It was a newsroom full of men. There was one woman who did radio reports, and there was one black reporter. Other than that, it was all men. White men. Not that there's anything wrong with being white. I mean, I'm married to one, right? And so I found that the reporters who were competing with me were all men, and everyone I covered on Capitol Hill were men. They were on Capitol Hill, the White House, the Pentagon, the State Department. They were all men. I was covering the House Judiciary Committee hearings into the impeachment of Richard Nixon. It was 1974. The picture was taken by Dev O'Neill, the Capitol Hill photographer. He gave it to me, and since it's public domain, because it's part of the Capitol Hill largesse of photographs, I was able to use it for my book and to show you. And it went viral. I look like I've had it, right? And it went viral as a hashtag mood, which in social media parlance means I have so been there. Because a lot of people went on and said, I know what she's thinking. I've been there. When I go into the office, that's what I see, a sea of men. There's a tiny little lady to the right, on the right side, and her husband owned some newspapers, and she was a bit of a gadfly. I never saw anything that she wrote, but she was always hanging around the edges. The man on the left sitting at the dais, because Dev O'Neill is up on the dais, is Bill Cohen, congressman. He became Secretary of Defense, and he became a senator from Maine. And then this is Congressman Larry Hogan with his kind of wide tushy there. But anyway, that just said it all to me, that, he's just there. It was a sea of men.